So Jeremy Lin was brought to tears when he was talking about how the NBA has given up on him and he has hit a new low of rock bottomness, even though that's not a term that makes any sense, rock bottomness.
And in English, there's a saying, and it says, once you hit rock bottom, the only way is up.
因为有一句话说，当你跌到谷底的时候，你只有往上爬。
But rock bottom just seems to keep getting more and more rock bottom for me.
但对我来讲，好像每年那个谷底是越来越深啊。
And so, free agency has been tough.
所以这个自由球员的市场对我来讲也是非常艰难的一个过程。
Because I feel like in some ways the NBA has kind of given up on me.
因为有一点感觉，好像 NBA 已经放弃我了。
And I always knew if I gave anybody a reason to doubt, they would.
I'm going to have to say this, and we're just jumping right into this. I haven't made a video in a while. Whatever, we're jumping into this. The fact of the matter of this situation is the NBA is political. This whole situation proves to us how political the NBA is. It's all about connections, and it's all about being political. If Jeremy Lin were under Rich Paul, Jeremy Lin would have a job somewhere because the NBA wants to keep Rich Paul happy. You see, Rich Paul and agents like Rich Paul and certain organizations are friends with certain agents, and certain players do agents favors, and agents do favors to organizations, and organizations do favors for specific players simply because of the connections. Now, I'm not bashing connections, but it's pretty shady, man. It's a shady thing when someone who has talent can't get in the NBA because someone who's worse than them has a better agent or some connection somewhere. You see, players are connected to other players. And when agencies sign somebody, you kind of sign to somebody that has a connection with somebody else. Jeremy Lin is at the point of his career where he can play some decent minutes and get some decent points and come off the bench as a sixth man, and he can potentially start in certain places. I mean, he has that skill. I mean, look at what he did in New York. Granted, that was some years ago. But when you look at some rosters where there are guys that are on NBA teams averaging 8 points per game, 5 points per game, and you look at how some guys overseas look like they're more skilled than some of the guys in the NBA. And I don't want to hear the shenanigans about, well, if you take a guy from the NBA and put him overseas, what happened to Anthony Bennett when he went overseas? It didn't go too well for him. But guess what? The man's in the NBA right now. Do you see what I'm saying? This is a pattern. You have guys who have no business being in the NBA, but guess what? They're in the NBA because they have that political connection. And that's just my theory. A player like Jeremy Lin should be in the NBA. The NBA isn't about talent anymore. It's not about talent. If you can play and you don't have the right connection, you're not getting on a team. You're going to most likely be somewhere overseas. A good example of this is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. This man had a no-trade clause. A no-trade clause. Why did he have a no-trade clause? And this is ridiculous. This man is still in the Lakers, and he had a no-trade clause because of his connection to LeBron James. They wanted to keep LeBron James happy so he could potentially sign with the Lakers, and they gave this man a no-trade clause. So this man is in the NBA right now because of his connections to Rich Paul and LeBron James. Because I can pick a handful of guys overseas, and I was watching some overseas basketball the other day. I can pick you a handful of guys that look better out there than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I'm sorry to tell you. Now, will Jeremy Lin get a chance somewhere? I don't know. But I just hope, and this is my hope is that Jeremy Lin gets an opportunity to play for a spot. At least give the man a chance. I mean, if the NBA really cared about the global game and all this stuff that they're always promoting, Jeremy Lin has a job, man. Because Jeremy Lin is very capable of putting up decent numbers. We saw it before. We saw it in the Hornets. He played okay in the Hawks in certain games when given the opportunity. He just needs an opportunity, but he might just not get it because he just doesn't have the right political and connections. I mean, it is what it is, and it's a sad story. It's sad that someone that has skill like Jeremy Lin, and not just Jeremy Lin, there are other players out there that can play basketball, but they're free agents, and they're other guys who shouldn't be on the roster. I mean, that's just how it goes. It's a nasty game in the NBA. And ultimately, somebody's going to say, well, what do you mean the NBA doesn't care about talent? Look at how LeBron James and Anthony Davis are in the Lakers, and the Clippers have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, the NBA cares about its superstars. But when we're talking about role players, now we're just talking about rolling the dice. And when an NBA player is playing for an organization, the organization doesn't really care about the player. They care about the money they generate. You see, if you can generate good money for me, we'll be more than happy to sign you. But the minute you stop producing, you're no good to us. Look at Kevin Durant. Look at a man that did everything for that organization, the Golden State Warriors. The minute he couldn't play, they were begging that man to come back. The minute he got injured, because they rushed him back, you have the leader of the organization. I don't want to call him an owner because, you know, the NBA forbids people from being called owners now. I mean, sports are getting so politically correct that you can't even call the owner of a basketball team the owner anymore because Draymond Green got offended. But that's a conversation for another day. So we have the leader of the organization of the Golden State Warriors with his crocodile tears going, I can't believe Kevin Durant got hurt, etc. But you rushed him back. So you can see how the NBA really operates. I mean, some of these organizations are shady. And if an organization doesn't give Jeremy Lin an opportunity, we now know why. The man is Chinese. The man doesn't have the right connections. The man doesn't have the correct political powers. And if the NBA really cared about going global, Jeremy Lin has a job. And with that being said, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.